chocolate chip cookies, and it's usually something that Evan is known for because he's really good at it, but he's taught me some of his tips and I'm gonna make them. Let's just hope they come out as good as his. So what we've done is we've preheated the oven to 400. That's just because we've got a gas oven. So it does recommend the 375 if you've got an electric. And so we've got that going, and we're gonna start by mixing in a small bowl the flour, baking soda, and salt. And we've got those right here. And whoop, we got our flour, our baking soda, and our salt all separated out. Okay.
How much flour?
Oh, we've got 2 1/4 cups of the all-purpose flour, and baking soda we got 1 teaspoon, and the salt another teaspoon of that. And we're just gonna stir these together and then set them aside because we don't need them this exact moment, but we want to make sure that they're ready for us when needed. And then next, in a large mixing bowl, we're gonna beat the butter, granulated sugar, and brown sugar, and the vanilla extract. But, hold a hot second, we've got a cool tip. The butter, we actually melt before mixing with everything. So, you got your 2 sticks of butter, which is what, half cup? No.
Yeah, I believe that's a half cup.
Ah, cool. Remember from last time?
1 cup, sorry.
Oh, 1 cup. Womp womp.
Or half a pound. And it's unsalted butter. You want to tell them why you use unsalted butter?
Yes, use unsalted butter in your baking so that you can add other salt to bring out the flavors and it's not overly salty. And I think that I've mentioned that before. I do use unsalted butter in a lot of my cooking, and that's just so that I can quantify the amount of salt that we're going to be eating, taking in, if you will. And you can judge that a bit better. So we're going to plop the lid on there and get that to go. And we're just going to put it on medium because we don't want to burn it. We just want to melt it. And burning and melting and browning are completely different things. Now, brown butter, that would be kind of a close to caramelization, and that is for a separate kind of recipe for a cookie. It'd be a brown butter chocolate chip cookie, and I like to put sea salt on that. It's really good. It's 1 over hearts, and we can say that from experience. And it's super simple, but it is kind of time consuming because you gotta like wash the butter. This one you can just kind of walk away for the time being. So we're gonna let that butter melt, and holy smokes, it's melting quite quickly actually.
Mmm.
Alright, so we're gonna let that be for a few moments, and we're gonna go back to our recipe and see what we need to do next. And the sugar, brown sugar, and vanilla extract. So we've already got our sugar and brown sugar measured. We need 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, which is just your basic house sugar, white sugar. And then we need 3/4 cup packed brown sugar. And you could use light or brown, or light or dark sugar, but we like the light sugar. It's a little bit sweeter. Yes.
Nice and sweet.
Sweeter. So we've got that, and then we've got our vanilla extract, and we did have a measuring spoon here. What'd you do with it? The mystery. Oh, I think it already went in the sink.
You need a teaspoon.
Teaspoon. Thank you. Well, it already went in the sink, so we need a teaspoon of that sugar, and we're gonna go ahead and just dump these in now because that butter.
You want to wait till the butter melts first.
Well, the butter.
You put it in the butter first because you want the sugar to melt into the butter.
That's right. You want the sugar to melt into the butter so that it completely emulsifies and kind of brings the flavors together a little bit better, rounds everything out. And we are cooking pretty good there. Yeah. Butter is definitely done.
Yeah,
that is. If we didn't catch it now, it would have been on its way to the browning process, which we don't really want. And I've still got a hefty chunk in there. So I'm just kind of stirring it It'll keep melting down. And
that should be good.
I think we're all good now. So we're gonna pour this in. And we got our butter. So I'm gonna put it in down position. Always make sure to lock this. And we're just gonna put it on stir.
Yep.
And put in our brown sugar, 3/4 cup. And I wanna make sure that that's close to being mixed well. Because we don't want clumps at all. If you get a clump, it's just kind of awkward. You're like just chewing a piece of sugar. And that's why we do this with the butter warm. So it can completely be mixed in.
And you also do this first because you also put in the eggs. And you don't want the eggs to cook in your hot butter.
Oh yeah, you don't want your eggs to curdle. Unless you're making, well, even making a custard, you don't want your eggs to cook in there. Custard is a whole nother story for a completely different year.
Don't forget your vanilla extract.
Oh yes, and the vanilla extract.
1 teaspoon.
1 teaspoon of that, and kind of hard to just keep it in the bowl because it likes to pour all over the place. But there we go, that's good enough. Alright, these are coming together quite nicely. And would you say it's time to put in the flour?
You gotta put in the eggs first.
Eggs.
One at a time.
One at a time. There we are. And if you're too scared to put in an egg whole like that, the way that I just did, you're more than welcome, or you definitely can put it in a bowl first and then plop it in the bowl, in the mixing bowl, because it is kind of terrifying to crack it open and pray that you don't get any shards of shell in there. That's definitely an option. I've just been doing this for a while, and not to say that I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I do get shells in there. I mean, I'm human, but it's just something that I'm used to doing. Just cracking on there. And these ones, store-bought eggs, just need like one, and snag it open. And you gotta make sure that they're mixed entirely. Again, just making sure that it's spread evenly throughout the recipe. So this is going to be something that you'll want to stick around and watch.
And now you can add the flour at this point.
Alright.
A little bit at a time.
Alright, so we're going to just slowly pour this in. And the reason you want to do it slowly, not just because you don't want a flour cloud explosion, but like I've been saying throughout this video, you want it to be completely mixed, evenly distributed, so that you get a nice even cookie in each cookie.
Yeah, baking's about perfection. Cooking, you can take some license, but baking, you have to be exact.
Baking is science. I mean, all food is science, but baking is a true edible science. And I'm not going to worry too much about the stuff on the edges of the bowl right now, right up in the top there, because we'll be able to stop this when we're close to being done, scrape it off, turn the beater back on, and remix it just for that one final hoorah. All right, so you can start to see that it's coming together more like a familiar cookie dough now. Since we've got the flour added, it's bringing a little bit of a lighter tone. It's given the beater a bit more of a workout. So if you were mixing this by hand, it definitely would take a little bit of time, but it's certainly worth it. All right, let me stop this, open this up, and we got our trusty spatula here. Last time, just on stir. Making sure it's all come together. I'd say that's about good. What say you?
I think it's good too.
All right, so we're gonna pull this up and set that down. And we're gonna take this off of here because we don't need you anymore. Aha, you said, wait, I thought we were watching chocolate chip cookies, not just these basic black cookies. Ugh, it's not what I signed up for. But just you wait, we are gonna add the chocolate chips, but you do that and mix them in by hand, because you don't want to break down the chocolate chips. You want to know that you've got chocolate chips in there. You want to see that. It's that end result, that image, the plating that I always used to go for. So we're going to get off as much as we can of this, and this is quite a challenge. So you know what? That's good enough. Save it in the bowl. And we've got our chocolate chips, which is going to be 2 cups. And there's some special thing about the ratio of flour to chocolate chips. It's 2 cups.
So basically for every cup of flour, you put in a cup of chocolate chips.
Oh, so a 1-to-1 ratio. Ah, there we go, another ratio for you. So I'm just going to pour a bit in there and stir it in, folding like I've done in the past. When you fold in the, it's the granola, I believe. And we're just gonna make sure that that's all evenly distributed. Do another one.
Yeah, usually I just dump them all in because I'm impatient, but.
No. I wanna make sure that these are in here. Because it's real fun to have a whole cookie that's just filled with chocolate chips, but then down the road you're gonna have one at the bottom of your container and it's not gonna have any chocolate chips, and then you're gonna be sad. Nobody wants to be sad and have one lonely chocolate chip in their cookie. Unless the cookie is like this big. But who makes a cookie that size? Nobody. So we wanna make sure that every cookie gets a couple of chocolate chips because it's only fair. And instead of making a bigger mess, we're going to scrape this off. Now another thing, and I don't think that this is written on the recipe, but another trick that Stiff Steve has taught me is to let this rest for 30 minutes. You just leave it. That's it. Right now, we're gonna let all the flavors come together, and then the butter is gonna re-solidify, and it's gonna be a little bit harder so that when you bake the cookies, they're gonna have a nicer shape and they're gonna come out better. So we're gonna let this sit for a whole 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll get our cookies baked up. We've got the tray, we've got the cookie wrap, we've got the scooper all ready to go, and then bada bing, bada bang, we'll see you soon. All right, so we are ready to make our cookies. That's our dough after 30 minutes of hanging out just on the counter there. And we've got our ungreased cookie rack here, or cookie tray. And we're just gonna take a small scoop. And it doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be like flat or anything. You just go plop right there. And again. And then we'll fill up the tray.
You want to space them a little bit more than that because they're going to expand.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
We should be able to do 3 per row.
All right, so you're going to want to do 3 per row. And we'll just fill this up.
You know why I like making cookies?
Why do you like baking cookies?
Because I like it when people eat them.
Okay, so you get the satisfaction of
that someone
having...
likes something I make.
Well, yeah.
And cookies are really good.
And cookies are really good. And these are fairly simple to make. You just need a little bit of patience at the beginning.
Now, why do you think you would want to do this over the store-bought ones?
I would do these over store-bought because I like to know what I'm putting into my cookies. I like to know what I'm eating. I mean, there are some things that you just can't resist, like Girl Scout cookies. And I know that there are plenty of recipes of how to make your own, like gluten-free or your own vegan ones, but I mean, if you're gonna have a Girl Scout cookie, you gotta have a Girl Scout cookie. So is that it? Okay.
You just throw it in the oven for usually 11 to 15 minutes, depending on your stove.
All right. Oh, should we move the rack down?
Yeah, it's probably fine in this case.
All right. So 11 to 15 minutes. And we'll put that on the clock. So, all right, we'll be back in a few minutes with some fresh cookies. All right, and we have got our first batch of cookies coming out of the oven. These look amazing. So we're just gonna set them there for a minute.
I always take them off immediately.
I know, but I need to go get the rack. And we got 2 here.
Guys, it's fun to tease your wife. This is gonna fall off on you. There you go.
All right, so we've got these.
They'll come right off.
I know, but I don't want to break them. And there we are. I know. I'm super excited about these. I've been thinking about them for the last few days.
I want it.
Well, you want to let it cool because otherwise I know you're going to be shouting, "Oh, that's hot!"
I don't care. It burns my mouth. I'm hungry. They smell so good, don't they?
They do.
The beautiful caramel of the Maillard reaction.
There we have it. We got our first batch here.
Yeah, they look really good.
And see, you got a little bit of chocolate for each cookie. You don't want to just have them all lumped together in one and then this guy not have any. So that's no fun. All right, what we're going to do is make up the next. And keep going until we ain't got no more dough.
Oh, and guys, if you don't have a cookie scooper like that, you can use one of these spoons here.
Tablespoon.
A tablespoon, and then just make them round with your hands. And if you let the dough sit for a half hour, it's super easy. It's like Play-Doh.
we go. And another 11 minutes on the clock, so we will be back with the next one.
Alright, we're recording.
Alright, so I'm just taking a lactate because there's milk chocolate chips, and milk chocolate is not a lactose intolerant person's friend. So we're just gonna dive right into these bad boys because we really want them. And they cooled off a little bit. That's a problem. But oh my gosh. So, I mean, it's a chocolate chip cookie, but it's so much better when it's homemade. And also, doing the melted butter so that you can spread everything out evenly, distribute it throughout the ingredients, it makes it for a better tasting cookie. You're not going to get a clump of brown sugar or a clump of flour or something. It's just so tasty. Chocolate. Oh my gosh. I'm just so happy that we did this. And I really hope that you make these and you make them the same way or a similar way, because you're going to get the same result, because baking is science and it's not going to disappoint you. You can make 2 batches and then have these for like 2 weeks, or you could make 1 batch and have them last for a day, you know? So like, subscribe, and then make sure to ring the bell for notifications. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.